Hey there, in this video, we are going to look at the concept of scope chain in JavaScript. For that, I'm going to create a new folder, scope chain, and within which I'm going to create a file example.js, example1, let me name it. Yep. Within which we are going to start writing a very simple code snippet of JavaScript where I'm starting with declaring a variable var num equals 3. Wait. So far, we have seen variables declaration using the keyword var. But what is this const now? Const is nothing but a constants in JavaScript. Whenever we want to declare any constants, essentially the variables which we don't want to reassign later. Those variables we can declare using the keyword const. And this helps in avoiding any accidental reassignments. And this, whenever we declare variables with const, it makes our code more predictable. Now, moving ahead, I'm going to define a function, function A, within which I'm going to create another variable, but with the same name. And I'm going to assign the value 5 here. And I'm going to create one more function, function B. Here, I'm trying to log num. Yes, and within function A, I'm going to call function B. And from the global space, I'm going to call function A. Now it's clear, right? Here we have declared a variable num, for which we have assigned the value 3, and then we are calling the function a, where we have declared another variable but with the same name, and we have given it the value 5. And after that, we are calling the function b. What do you think this would log? Before making any predictions, let's go ahead and look at the conceptual understanding behind this. Let's start by understanding something known as lexical environments. Lexical environment of a variable or function is nothing but where it's physically residing in the code. For example, here variable num is residing in the global environment, and here variable num is residing within the function A. This is nothing but the lexical environment of a variable or function. The lexical environments of the variables or functions is something which is going to decide where it's going to be in the memory. Let's say this variable num is going to be in the global space, but this variable num is going to be within the function scope, where it will be accessible only within the function scope. Now, moving ahead with understanding the execution of this code, I'm going to take a screenshot of this, and I'm bringing that into the canvas. Yes. As soon as JavaScript engine starts executing code, it creates something known as execution stack. We have discussed about execution stack in the previous video. You can go have a look at it. And once it creates execution stack, it pushes something known as global execution context. This is our global execution context. Once it creates execution context, it allocates memory. It allocates memory for the variables and functions. Firstly, let's have a look at variables first. It creates memory location for variable num and it assigns the value 3. And once this line is executed, we are calling the function a. Now, as soon as we invoke this function, a new execution context will be created for a. This is our new execution context for function a. And here we are having a variable num for which it's going to create its own memory space. And it will create a variable and assigns it the value 5. And from function A, we are calling function B, for which again a new execution context will be created and pushed onto the stack. If you see here, As we have discussed about the lexical environments, then what do you think is the lexical environment of B? It's nothing but physically where it's residing, right? Right, when we have defined it, it's not residing within function A. We are just calling it from function A, but it is physically residing in the global space. Now, when the execution starts within a function B, it tries to figure out the variable num within its own context first. Do we have any such variable within the context of B, within the execution context of B? No, we don't have. Now, at this moment, along with its own execution context variables, it has access to variables which are in the outer environment of that execution context. By variables in the outer environment, here with context to B, we don't mean function A, because function A is where we are calling it, but lexically B is residing in the global space. So the outer environment for B would still be global space, which is global execution context. Let me write it this way. For B, the outer environment would still be the global execution context. So as soon as the JavaScript engine is not able to find num variable within its own context, it starts searching in the its immediate outer environment. Here we have num value within our global space. So its value 3 will be logged here. To see this in detail, let's start with another example. I'm going to create another file, example2.js. Let's create 3 functions this time. Let's start with first function, and before that, let me create a global variable var global var equals global. And within first function, I'm going to create one more variable. I'm going to declare one more variable with name first var, and I'm giving the value first. And within this function, I'm going to create one more function. Essentially, I'm trying to create nested functions here. Function second function. I'm going to give spaces just for readability. Within second function, I'm going to create one more variable, second var, and I'm assigning it second. I'm going to create one more function here, third function. Yeah. Within this, let's have one more variable, third var, with the value third. And here I'm going to log all of these values. Starting with third val. Yes. And in the same way, I'm going to do for second var as well. Second var console.log for first var. And let's do it for global variable as well. Console.log global var. Now, when it starts executing, let me call the function. First function, yes. Now when it starts executing, firstly the execution goes here where we are giving a variable the value first, and the same thing, and then we are invoking the function second here. So the control goes within this, within which we are invoking the function third. And once the control reaches the function third, here this the scope of this function has only one variable third, but it has access to the outer variables, but it has access to the variables in the outer environment. Let's start with this log statement. Firstly, it looks for the variable third in its own execution context. Yes, it is able to find. So it logs the value third. And now it moves ahead with second var. Do we have any variable like second var in its own context? No, we don't have. But the immediate outer environment for this function is second function. Do we have any variable called second var here? Yes, we do have. So essentially it has the access to the variables in the outer environments till the global environment. Here it's able to find the value of the variable second in the immediate outer environment. So it will be able to log it. And here moving on to first var. Here do we have any variable first var? No, we don't have in its own execution context. Now it checks in the immediate outer world. Immediate outer world is our second function. Here also we don't have. Now it moves on to the next outer world. Like it moves into the first function. Do we have any variable like that? Yes, we do have. And here it logs first. The same thing happens with a global variable as well. First it checks in third function and then in the second function and then in the first function, and at the end it will reach to the global space. There it's able to find and it logs the value global. This is nothing but scope chain. As a definition, we can understand it something like a mechanism that the JavaScript uses to find variables. And the scope of a function has variables which are in its own current scope plus the variables in all the outer scopes and up to the global space, up to the global scope. Now I hope it's very clear about scope chain. Whatever we have discussed in this video, I have pushed that to GitHub and I have given a very detailed notes along with examples. The link for this notes is in the description box. Please have a look. That's it for this video and see you in the next video. Thank you.